So the Los Angeles Rams recently just bailed on Jared Goff, a guy that Sean McVay, their current head coach, actually did not draft. Jared Goff was drafted in 2016. Sean McVay comes in 2017. He inherits Jared Goff, and several years later, despite Jared Goff having some success and getting to a Super Bowl, obviously losing that Super Bowl, but Jared Goff, he's had some success. He's been to a Super Bowl, but none of that matters now because Sean McVay and the LA Rams have bailed on Jared Goff. And ever since that Super Bowl that Jared Goff got to, he's regressed. And it's unfortunate because when you look at Jared Goff, he was in the ideal situation to succeed. He had really good weapons, good tight ends, a good running game, an A-plus head coach, and a really good defense as well, led by Aaron Donald. And here's the thing, people. I'm starting to believe that Jared Goff might be slowly becoming the next Joe Flacco, but even worse. I'll tell you why. Obviously, he's in Detroit now. Jared Goff is, he got traded to Detroit. He's given him an opportunity to once again be a starting quarterback. He will at least be the Detroit Lions starting quarterback this year. We'll see what Jared Goff brings to the table for their future. Is Jared Goff their future? Probably not, because I don't think Detroit has a really good roster, and they could only win 5 games with Matthew Stafford being their quarterback this past year. I don't think they're going to win much more games with Jared Goff, considering he's worse. Now, why do I compare Jared Goff to Joe Flacco? Because once a long time ago, Jared Goff was on the upward trend. He was beating Drew Brees in the Superdome. In the playoffs, he got to a Super Bowl. And after he got to a Super Bowl, many people were actually saying, could Jared Goff maybe be a top 10 quarterback? He's at least trending towards being that guy. And a few years later, Detroit is now inheriting Jared Goff, and Detroit's the place where quarterbacks die. Now, Joe Flacco, once a long time ago, in his prime, he was regarded as a borderline to potential top 10 quarterback. He really was. He had a great postseason run a couple of years ago. He beat Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, really good 49ers team in the Super Bowl. He was great in the playoffs. But once Joe Flacco got paid a ton of money, just like Jared Goff, he went into the tank. And today, Joe Flacco, he couldn't start for the Jets this past year, and the Jets won 2 games. Joe Flacco was Sam Darnold's backup quarterback this past year, people. And people pointed to Joe Flacco and his demise for potential, lack of work ethic, him being lazy potentially. Some people pointed to Joe Flacco maybe being complacent. And ultimately, some people said, man, maybe Joe Flacco's just not that good. Maybe once people started seeing more and more film of Joe Flacco and the book was out on him, Joe Flacco kind of got exposed and people said he might just not be that good. And there's sort of whispers and reports out there that Jared Goff might have gotten a little lazy. Maybe his work ethic wasn't the best. Some people point to him potentially being complacent over the past year and a half. Maybe Jared Goff just isn't that good. Maybe ever since Jared Goff got to a Super Bowl and teams started seeing more and more film on him, they adapted. And Jared Goff never adapted with the NFL. Maybe Jared Goff just reached his ceiling and we can't do anything about that, because sometimes I think that we kind of get into a space where, because of players failing, we call them lazy, we say they stink, their attitude's bad. Ultimately, sometimes maybe those guys just aren't good enough. Maybe sometimes those guys just plateau. And I feel like Jared Goff might be in that boat to where he just plateaued. And the Rams trade away Jared Goff in favor of Matthew Stafford. And if Jared Goff fails with the Detroit Lions, he very well could become a backup quarterback, because there are more and more great quarterbacks in the NFL than there were back when Jared Goff was drafted. You got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields entering the NFL. You got so many good quarterbacks. Ultimately, if Jared Goff fails with the Detroit Lions, and that very well could be possible, he might be done for. He might get some more opportunities just because he's been to a Super Bowl. Teams have seen that film. They've seen him go toe-to-toe and beat Patrick Mahomes in a Monday Night Football game that everyone seems to remember. But Jared Goff is trending towards being the next Joe Flacco. And while Joe Flacco's made some money, won some games, and been to a Super Bowl and actually won a Super Bowl, he's without a starting job today. And Jared Goff very well could be in that situation going forward. To a certain degree, I feel bad for Jared Goff because I don't think he's going to be put in a great position to succeed with the Lions, but he had his chance with the Rams. They were a really good team, and he blew it. And that's unfortunate for him. Is Jared Goff the next Joe Flacco? Maybe, but only time will tell. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.